if when you win, you don't accept and appreciate your role within the win, then you're never gonna win. Like, that was also something that I had to learn. Whereas, like, I would always bypass some of these things that happen in my life. Like, I mentioned Chingfest 2019. Yeah. I remember at the time, I was just like, yeah, cool, we did it. Like, sick. All right, what am I doing next? Yeah. What's the point of me thinking about what's next? Like, didn't live the moment. Yeah, like, everyone else is ecstatic. Like, we pulled off a whole festival that no one wanted us to do for free in the ends. Yeah. That is incredible. Like, when I think about it now, especially, but I shouldn't have to think about that retrospectively. Yeah. I'm on 100. I'm on 100. I miss covering my body. 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 Chanel, 2 for 2. My bitch got on Jimmy Choo's. Run up these numbers like we back school. I'm on 100K move. Just pulled up with a crew. Front outside go zoom. No lacking, no you make the news. Chanel, 2 for 2. Can't go back on football. Okay, welcome. Okay, calm. So we're locked in.
Yeah, we're locked in. We're locked in already.
We're locked in.
Yeah, so. But that's something. I like the struggle because it sharpens you. But it does get lonely, and when it gets too lonely, you're in this like dangerous space, because if you're too pessimistic, that becomes reality. Yeah. If you're optimistic, that becomes reality. Yeah. You know, and so the situation, pandemic, World War III, gangsters running our politics, you know, that's all external factors that we can't control. What we can control is how we react. 100. And I find it very hard. I'm a tough guy. Yeah. But I find it very hard right now. Yeah. And just listening to you guys and your own tactics of overcoming. Yeah. That's something I find very inspirational. And thank you, man. Needs to be heard. Yeah. Needs to be heard.
Thank you, man. I think when we're in states where the world feels as volatile as it does at the moment, because there's always a balance, isn't there? There's always these airs of joy or these moments of feeling like things are actually great and euphoric. Like, even right now, the World Cup, like, you can look at the World Cup, and if England win, or if Nigeria's not in it, which is annoying, so I'll back Ghana in it. But like, if one of those teams win, I'm like, jeez, this is good. And then you get reminded about the fact that it shouldn't even really be happening and what's going on, and that's actually a lot of money that's gone into one thing, and corrupt, all of these different terms, phrases, and feelings start getting generated. But again, as you said, like, we're not the controllers of that. What we can do is control how we react or respond to it as well, and also like what we can do outside of that as well, like not giving something like that our full attention if we know that it's something that creates some sort of triggering, or it's something that doesn't feel whole to us as well. It's like, what else do you have, or what else do you focus on outside of that? And this is another thing that I've like had conversations with people about, and all of this stuff about the whole act of being selfish, and how like selfish is different to being self-obsessed. Like, there's a feeling of where you have to protect yourself and self-preservation and thinking about what is actually the best for you in that moment and being honest and authentic with yourself. That's where selfish comes from, because it's about what can you do kind of best for yourself, the ish part. Yeah. Whereas if you take it beyond that and it becomes self-obsessed or even narcissistic in some ways, that's where it becomes very, very dangerous, where it's like, bro, you don't see anything outside of yourself. The fact that you exist, great. The fact that you feel something, great. But if you can't see how what you're feeling or how you're acting is impeding or affecting other people, then we got an issue. That kind of thing, innit?
Yeah, it's a very dangerous state of mind. It's a... self-obsession is always destructive. And it's knowing that these mechanisms are happening, because we're all human beings, we're not perfect. Knowing that this is happening, understanding what's happening, and therefore reacting to it efficiently, effectively, to get yourself out of that mindset, whatever it is. Because being too happy is also not good, you know, because like I find it like with running business and the times that we're in, it's like in terms of mental health, it's very stressful because it's ups and downs, and there's no middle ground, you know, like and that's like kind of like yes and no. And So it's like finding coping, because that's what life is. Life, life is not like a
No, it's not
boring,
linear. Yeah.
So coping mechanisms at every point.
Yeah.
For me, for example, it's like how I go to sleep. Don't watch YouTube videos and don't go to sleep on it. I love like stuff like DJ Academics.
Yeah. Oh, you.
Yeah, I'm that.
Man, like
I'm
DJ
totally,
Academics.
I'm
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
that. But then it's like a little bit conflicted with my music as well, my music taste as well, because like it's destructive and it's like accepting stuff that's not humanity, it's below humanity, like especially with academics and rap music and what these young bucks go through, and me taking that energy into my sleep means that it's something negative is processing.
100.
So I'm trying to it's like coping mechanism. These coping mechanisms exists for hundreds of years, but it wasn't relevant for me and didn't need it. Now I'm like, you know what?
No,
There's some
100.
truth in there.
Well, what wasn't there 100 years ago? Like YouTube.
No.
messaging, that
There
kind of
was
stuff.
coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
be it meditation that they've been
Yeah,
practicing for thousands
yeah.
of years, but it wasn't relevant to me. I didn't know I need to cope until I
until
understood. Okay, what's going on here?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like, especially from a like a business perspective, because your business is always associated with an objective or a goal in it, whether it's a small one at a certain moment in time or just the general objective of my business is here to fulfill X.
Yeah.
So for instance, with me doing music and doing the podcast with Amelia Poems, like our objective is to gain as much traction as possible so we can get a wide enough audience that are engaged with what we do and then feel enticed enough to want to pay for the fact that this happens.
Yeah.
And then off of that revenue, we're able to live a life that we're happy to live, kind of thing, or that we find peace and contentment with. Like, it's very difficult. That's so many steps that I've just mentioned, but that's essentially what business is, and it's like, how you generating revenue? Do you get profit or are you at a loss?
Yeah.
At the most black and white, banal ways of putting it, that's essentially what business is. And I think for me, one of the things I've had to do, like, because I wouldn't even go around saying I'm a successful businessman or anything. I just know this takes a lot of effort. Like, this takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of encroachment on your personal life.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of encroachment on, like, how you handle relationships and how you navigate them. And that could be work relationships, romantic ones, platonic ones, whatever. Like, all of those things. But thinking how what you're about to invest your time, money, effort, energy, all of that stuff into, how does that reflect who you are as a person? At the end of the day, like,
Absolutely.
if you're going to be a business owner, I think there's a couple different ways in it. It's like some people who see an opportunity, they're like, oh, yo, that's a gap in the market, I can fulfill that. Or if you're a bit more what it seems like you and I are, which is like, this thing that I'm going to fill my time with, I associate that with what I believe I have a sense of purpose towards. Like, it fulfills me, not just, oh, it's an opportunity to generate revenue and everything. And because of that, that's why we have these emotional attachments to it. So, like, it's not as easy as, is it generating profit or loss? Is it good? Is it bad? No, it's like, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about this? And then, unfortunately, how does everyone else feel about this? Like, now that affects how I feel about it and other stuff in my life.
Because it's one thing buying socks for £2 and selling them for £4.
Exactly.
It's another thing dealing with humans, with crises, with circumstances, with ugliness. Because that's the reality that we are invested in to change. So it's different for us. So you really see it. But
yes, sorry. But
Lemzi.
Yes, my man. It's been a minute.
Musician. DNA is music.
Yeah, I guess so. More
rapper, songwriter, producer, live, co-writing, co-producing, like just the whole creative shebang. Podcaster, in fact, chats. We're gonna link all of this stuff.
Cool.
App developer, and correct me if I'm wrong. Spoke, music, meditate, sleep.
Yeah, so Spoke is the app. I am not an app developer myself. I wish I knew about coding and all of that. But Spoke is an app who's founded by Ariana Alexander Sefri. She's the founder of our team. There's me, her, 2 other members of staff as well, like full-time people. But essentially the app is all around making mindfulness accessible through the means of music and creativity. So I'm the lead artist within Spoke.
Yeah.
And what I do is I create scripts, write spoken word, write narrations, and I work with different people in the psychological world. So they could be psychologists or therapists, neuroscientists, sleep experts, whatever else, anybody who studies the mind and how to benefit the mind. Me as an artist, I look at their information, then I try and articulate it in a way that's creative, basically.
Yeah.
Hence why spoken word comes in and the rap or the vocals or production, etc. And that is essentially what Spoke does and what Spoke is there for. So me
Amazing.
within Spoke, I'm the lead artist and just a general co-creator of
Yeah.
it because I'm one of the first people who were there as well.
Yeah. Amazing. But the list doesn't stop here. Hidden Gems Live.
Yeah, man.
Talk
Yeah,
about it.
that's. Do you know what? Hidden Gems Live is a great lesson because that no longer exists, really and truly.
Okay.
Like, it stopped in 2020, or that was the last time I did it. It's not to say it will never come back, but right now,
Due to the pandemic.
yeah, that
And
was really the
lockdown
reason.
and-
Yeah, lockdown just
Yeah.
meant like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, we were
Yeah.
restricted completely. But
Yeah.
even since then, despite the success, the relative success that Hidden Gems had, like it was a great platform if you were an independent or emerging artist. Like we brought a few hundred people together at a time to come and watch people that, you know, they were beyond open mic stage, but they weren't quite getting booked for festivals and stuff
Yeah.
like that. We had a really good venue in Shoreditch called Rich Mix that supported us. Great
Amazing.
production,
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Great venue.
yeah, great venue, man. But yeah, it's just at this stage of where I'm at, I just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
And letting go of Hidden Gems Live was hard at first because it was
Yeah.
like, nah, my dream was always to make a festival. And again, it's not to say that that won't happen, but letting go of the most direct thing that I connected to that aspiration was like, damn, like, what's going on now? Like, what am I meant to do?
Yeah.
What can I replace that with?
Yeah, yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da.
You know what? Interesting enough, in my previous talk with Chloe, I was saying that your business is like your girlfriend, like that only takes and doesn't give, and is really mean.
So not a good girl.
But you love her. But she said, "Nah, it's like your baby," which is.
I think it's
yeah,
more so like
it's
that.
more
Yeah,
like your
like,
baby, right?
yeah, you gotta nurture it, you gotta feed it,
Yeah.
you gotta make sure that it's good at all times.
When
like,
your baby's crying at 3 a.m, you're gonna love it the same way
That's
you're gonna
the
love
thing.
it at 12 in the afternoon.
and I guess the one privilege of a business over the baby is that something like Hidden Gems,
Yeah.
you can choose or you can say, all right, it's time to let go of this because
Yeah.
I cannot give it everything it needs.
Yeah.
And that's actually what, you know, that kind of dampened me for a little bit. I was like, I can't even put my all into this. But it's because it was replaced with something like Spoke, where it's like, okay, so say I used to do loads of workshops and all this stuff as
Yeah.
well, which I used to do frequently, like 3 times, 4 times a week at one point in my life. I think that was 2018, 2019. But something like Spoke again, it enables me to connect with young people, especially on a more democratic scale, like on a more copious scale, where it's like, okay, now all of you can hear some of the goodness that I would do in a workshop at one time.
Yeah.
So it's a good use of my time doing that kind of stuff
More
instead.
efficient. And I mean, that is to the last part of my list. Youth workers, someone that gives back, someone, and we touched on this, someone that lives in purpose. And I've seen you do it. And it's highly impactful. Highly impactful. I mean, these guys look at you. It's I'm gonna mix here topics up. But
That's
I'm
all
just
good.
looking at Spoke, music, meditate, and sleep, right? And it's almost like you for the youth are the music part, the active part. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's just my analogy. Meditate and sleep is something that happens subconsciously, but you have to give the time to go to sleep with a right state of mind, and then the learning happens as you're sleeping. Your brain is connecting the dots and these receptors, and I don't know what the hell is happening. But I seen youth react to you, seeing you, meeting you, and then the next day there's a mindset shift. The meditate and sleep over it, and whatever the receptors are doing, there's something connected because you are a role model. We are not accustomed to people we look up to. We look up to people that don't look like us, that come from backgrounds that are not our backgrounds. So there's a gap there.
Yeah.
But then I see youth. They look like you. They feel like you. They they talk like you, they dress like you, and therefore it's attainable, it's achievable. Whatever you're doing, I can do that myself as well, because you know, and that's I think that's a very for me and for you as well. It's a key part of our business, and this was something that allows us to navigate through tough times, because it's not about you or me.
It's about what we're offering, like the service that we provide.
Something much bigger.
Yeah, 100%. Because even with what you said, so with meditate as a word, I would actually go back and say that is conscious. Like you consciously
you're right.
put yourself in that state and position, which is why a lot of people find it difficult, because it's like, I've got to try and concentrate on one thing, or try and breathe, or try and do it. It's like, once you put yourself in the space where it is habitual almost, then it does feel effortless. But getting to that stage is a very conscious effort at first, innit? Whereas sleep, it is like, I could just conk out now kind of thing, and you're gone. And even what you're saying on representation is so important, but there's layers to it as well. Like there's nuances that like are so important, because I was having this conversation with my dad and my sister the other day, because my dad asked me and my sister how we felt about Kwasi Kwarteng being the first black chancellor of the UK. And I was like, as a thing on paper, if you write that down, that's amazing. Like that's actually happened. The first one. Wow. However, it's mad that that's the first one in 2022, and B, like what's your ideology? What do you believe? Do I even subscribe to what you believe or what you're saying? And if not, then I don't care what color you are. If I'm really being truthful and honest, like that is a hindrance. That's a block for me. So like I feel like in this day and age in particular, where everyone's got an opinion, everyone can say exactly what they think whenever they want, with no accountability. If you have whatever social media platform. Integrity, like what do you believe, like who are you, not just what do you look like. I feel like back in the day that would have been good enough and suffice for us, like okay, you're a black guy or you're a woman, okay great, but it's like, what do you represent? That layer just a little bit deeper. And I know there's something beyond that people will be expecting. Probably people younger than us will be like, yeah cool, so that's what you believe, but I don't know, what do you actually enforce? Like how do you actually do it will go deeper and deeper as time goes on, until people feel like, okay, I am truly being represented here. And I do hope that I do that, generally speak. Like I stand on my own too and say stuff because I believe in it. And then if anyone feels like, oh yeah, that resonates, great. If not, I understand. But like, yeah, I don't usually do things to be the representative for something. However, I do know when that's gonna be the perspective, if you know what I mean.
For me, that's like saying I love you and loving you are two different things.
Yeah.
You know, loving you is the hard one. Saying I love you is easy. I can do that in the morning. I can do that. I'm a grumpy morning person, but I can say I love you in the morning and then act differently. You know, so that's exactly what you're saying. It's the motion behind it, and the motion and the power behind it. It's crucial. What motivated you to start your own business?
Probably my dad more than anything, you know. Like he's an entrepreneur to the T.
Okay.
Like I think in his generation, especially as just a black man, you either go super into what the system is and you just do.
Yeah.
Or you're like, F that, I need to build something for myself. And you do in that sense. Like either way is long and it's hard and it's arduous, but he's very much the latter, where he's always just done his own business from what I've been aware of, innit? Whether it's, he's done loads of stuff, I won't even go into it. But like, that's where it started for me, because he was the person who said to me, oh, you should register yourself as a limited company.
Okay.
Like, that's where
Practical
it came from.
steps.
Yeah, exactly. The literal practical step of, oh, now I'm actually registered as a company, so this is how I'm meant to do the balance sheet in the end, or get someone to do the balance sheet, or this is how I'm meant to pay taxes because of this way that I'm registered, etc. Like, otherwise I would just be a brand, like, which is what I was. I was just the brand of Lemzi, which was the artist, the creator, all of these stuff, the things that you mentioned. It's like, cool, do them, but like, to be an official business within the UK, you have to be registered of some capacity in it. And he was the person who ensured I did it properly, basically. And then from there, it's kind of left me to my own devices, which I need that anyway, because I need to be able to make my own mistakes and learn through this process. But like, there's so much more for me to get done.
Yeah.
But even the basics of like trademarking and copywriting and certain things, whether it's the name or certain logos and assets and stuff like that, I have to give that to my dad. He was the one.
And like you're saying stuff like trademarking, yeah? We kind of basically know what trademarking is, but when you actually have to register and do the paperwork and understand the law behind it, so now you're going into the detail and more in the detail, but like, and the more you study it, the less you know about it, you know, and it's just like this abyss of... And we're just
information.
talking one thing, trademarking, and then you got, you know, financial modeling marketing, market segment. Like, these are all like deep things, and you start out with not knowing anything, yeah? Why you? What is it about you that you go into things that you don't understand, that you maybe haven't heard before, and actually coming into it, you're naive and stupid, but it takes someone that doesn't care about that or about what other people think. What is it about you that you can do these things?
I think a lot of it just comes down to belief in my ideas. Like, I really believe when I'm writing a song, for instance, this is a song worth sharing. There's so many songs that I've written that haven't been shared, but it's because I know it's not the ones kind of thing. But because I really believe, that's all it is, really and truly. I believe. And then I'm in the vanity game as well, because unfortunately or fortunately for me, when you're in the creative world, other people's opinions count. Like, I can't just tell myself, I'm the best to ever do this thing, and if no one agreed with that, it would mean that I wouldn't be a very profitable business in the end, innit? So it's the fact that, like, I believe in what I do a lot and what I create a lot, and then I have people or things around me that give me some positive reinforcement as well, where it's like, okay, keep going. Or like, even if it's just that little bit of encouragement, or people who want to work and collaborate with me, it's like, okay, cool, that's dope, because I know that you'll get something and I'll get something from it. It's just, I've always had that. And I guess going back further than me doing even music and being, I guess, a business. I hate saying I'm a business. It feels weird, but yeah, doing with that.
It is,
It is, yeah.
If you're registered, you're registered.
Yeah, exactly. But before all of that, I was heavily into sports, and I was academic and I was sporty before I was musical. I was those two things first, innit? And for both of them, like, competition is rife. You know, I studied law of criminology, and if you want to get into a Magic Circle firm, which is the top firms in the country, like, that's ridiculously competitive.
Yeah.
If you want to be, I used to play loads of different sports, football, basketball, badminton, but the one I was most proficient at was squash.
Yeah.
If you want to be the very best in the country or in Europe or hopefully around the world, competition is, like, it's tough. So I was never deterred when people used to say, what, you want to do music? Do you know how competitive that? Like, there's loads of people who do. I'm like, okay, let's go in it. Like, I'm used to that.
No,
like,
I'm with
even if I don't win, I'm used to that as well. Like, I had already been conditioned to taking L's. Like, and in doing anything for yourself, that's just a part of it. You're going to take L's. And then you also know how to deal with the W's. Like, you're like, sick. I've done something here and I know what's gone into this. So I'm happy and grateful that I've got this reward.
Speaking of L's, which kind of, I think people need to embrace them a bit more, you know, because they toughen you up, man. Toughen you up. What's the hardest thing about owning a business and running a business?
I think realizing that it might not be a good business. That's one thing.
Okay.
That's one thing.
That's tough.
Yeah. When you really, again, like, this feeling of, I believe in this thing, I think this was really dope. And then penny kind of drops or something happens that makes you feel like, actually, do you know what? This might not be like, that's hard. It's hard to deal with that. The fact that not that you've been wrong, but the fact that you've been going down a direction that has no longer sustained its course. And it's just like, shit, like, now what do I do? Do I start from ground zero? Do I just pick up from there and then ideate it a different way? Like, that's very, very tough.
Do you start from ground zero?
Sometimes you have to. Like, from the whole pandemic thing, that's essentially what I did. Like, as I said, I used to do workshops and all this kind of stuff. I barely do that anymore.
Yeah.
If I do, it's kind of a one-off nowadays.
Yeah.
Music, the way I approached it and the way I thought about who I was as an artist,
Yeah.
I had to take that back to ground zero because there was no studio, there was no shows, there was no anything. It was literally, okay, I have to write to like a beat that someone sent me or on YouTube right now. And is that even good? Like, and then go from there and build it up to like, okay, as things are getting freer, okay, I can start making songs again. I can start collaborating. I can start performing. I can do all of that. Like, you have to know what ground zero looks like for you. So then you know what your base is.
That's quite interesting. So now that we're going back to normal, but in the midst of it, you've adapted and changed. Are you now back to the old normal, or is it now a new normal for you? Do you do business different? For example, your music.
I would say things are pretty much similar to what they were. Like, they're not dramatically different.
Yeah.
But I think my perspective on things has changed. Like, before, I was so engrossed in like the brand of Lemzi.
Yeah.
That was my whole thing.
Yeah.
And that would get in the way of anything else.
Yeah.
And I would let other people suffer because of that.
And the name rings bells, just letting the people know.
No, like, yeah, like, good things have come out of it. You know, I've managed to go around the world and perform. We did I'll never forget doing Ching Fest in 2019. I've had headline shows. I've done an album. There's so many good things from me being Lemzi that has happened in my life, which I'll never be like, I wish that didn't happen. However, knowing that there has to be a little bit of a better balance, that's what's changed for me, where it's like, I don't have to accept everything that's on the table now. I don't have to say yes to all of these things because I feel like if I don't take it, someone else is going to take it, which means I'm going to deteriorate or like float away. Like, the idea of social media, like, you have to be on it all the time, otherwise people aren't going to care. But again, my perspective's changed. I'm like, oh, actually, like, I see people that are fully active on it and I still feel we're in the same sort of space. Like, I know that that's not the only avenue to create some sort of increase or proliferation, which is what I'm looking for. So what can I do for me? That's really what's changed. But in terms of how I rap, what I rap about, that's still the same kind of thing.
I understand. And for many people, the pandemic and like lockdown, because these are all forced upon us, for many people, it allowed them to start viewing things differently and therefore seeing different possibilities, opportunities, ways to navigate. It freed them. Like, actually, by locking them up, they were freed up. If that makes any sense. But again, that's why in my first question, like, what's your motivation? Why you? It's a certain character trait, right? That can navigate and come out positive at the end of it. We want to hear a piece of advice, but now in terms of business financials, like someone that's not business savvy, that hasn't done financial forecasting or budgeting or something like that.
Anything like that,
you know, some kind of advice
for someone who's never done it.
For someone that's coming up. So for a youth that are contemplating of like, maybe I'm a freelancer, maybe I can run my own business.
I would definitely say on the back of that to do that is that's like the biggest thing. If you can create even just a template or a pretend budget for something. Let's say that you want to go out and shoot music videos. All right, cool. How much does the camera cost? Okay. How much would it be to shoot in a certain location of your dreams? How much would it be to hire a couple of extras? Like, pretend first. But then you're going to see for yourself, okay, these things are going to cost X amount, around X amount when I do actually try and do this in real life. And talk to someone who gets it. Like, I think that's really, really important. So not just for encouragement, though that's really, really important, but someone who can go against what you're saying, who can challenge what you're thinking and what you're saying. I think if you don't have that, then you will just run off. You'll probably splash money if you do get it in the wrong kind of way, because we all do that first. We all spend it wrong first before we get it right. So that's what I would say. I'd just say create an idea, but as realistic and tangible as possible if you can't do it really, really first. And then also try and have somebody who can give you some sort of unbiased, not information, but unbiased perspective on what you're doing as well. 100%. It can be, as long as they know what they're talking about. Like, if they have no idea as well, then probably not the best person.
Yeah.
Like there's other people out there though, and the great thing of social media is that you can literally probably go on LinkedIn and type in finance mentor or something like that and reach out. Like don't be scared to reach out.
Yeah. And don't be scared of not knowing.
Yeah, 100. Like, yeah, I feel like as soon as you think you know, that's when you start feeling like, ah, shit, there's so much more that I should be knowing about in this. Because even when I mentioned trademarks, for instance, and we said that, like, I don't know anything about trademarks, bro. Like, there's whole legal teams dedicated to that kind of stuff where if you get to a certain point in whatever you're doing, that's who you'd have to delegate stuff to. Because that's also another thing that I've definitely had to take into consideration more, which is the idea of delegation and letting go a little bit more, because it's so easy to make things very insular because it's like, oh, it's your idea. And, you know, even if something's not generating money at the time, you think, oh, when it does, I need to try and hold on to it because I've put so much time and effort into it. But reality is, if you got 100% of zero, you still got zero. So it's like, share it with people who might be able to make this idea, boom.
But that's like your ego speaking.
Yeah, most of the time,
How do you, because sometimes your ego's right. So how do you differentiate in terms of letting go, for example? How do you know that it's a good thing or it's a bad thing? How do you know, or do you just do?
Sometimes you just do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to shoot from the hip, if I'm totally honest. But other times, you have to be really patient. Like, really, like, that's something, again, I feel like I've learned more in the last few years, just the idea of patience. Because if you do just jump into everything, it's kind of like how I was just saying yes to a bunch. You'll just get exhausted and burn out at some point. Or you'll run out of finance, or something will happen where it's like you haven't created sustainability. So be patient. There are opportunities where you do just say, look, I'm just going to do this because it just feels all of a sudden like I should probably, fine, go for that, innit? You're going to learn good or bad from it. It's not even good or bad, you're just going to learn from it. But generally speaking, be patient and be honest with yourself. Those are two things, because I think a lot of the time you know where you want to get to. So if something doesn't reflect where you want to get to, you will just, as long as you give yourself a moment to really think or feel about it, you'll probably understand what it is.
I mean, so I've been talking to a few business owners now, and I've quite a few to go through. But
you've been hustling, bro.
Gotta do it, bro. Gotta do it. This whole thing is about speaking about businesses. But when I do speak about businesses, they speak about things like passion, purpose. What did you just say? Patience. And one more thing you just said. I forgot now. Yeah.
Taking risks, maybe.
No, it
wasn't that.
I just forgot.
That's cool.
It's out of my mind. It'll come back. These are characteristics, personality traits. These are not return on investment, how much percentage, blah, 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 blah. Don't bore me, you know. How do you create this, or I don't know how to ask this now. How do you build yourself to be that? Because you weren't patient. You became patient through stuff that didn't go your way. You know, so there's like, it's like how do you continue that journey and just grow and mature into who you are?
I think, if I'm honest, I think that's just good old time and experience, man. I feel like there is no, what's the word? It's not booster pack, but there's nothing that like accelerates you into just knowing, okay, cool, now I'm patient. It's like, no, unless you've not been through unless you've been through the adversity that's had to make you patient and make you sit your ass down and stuff, like, you're not going to do it. You know, you can tell 100 people this is exactly what you need to do. 50 of them might listen, and then from that 50, only 5 of them might actually do what you're saying. So like, it's not really about speeding towards the point of being perfect. It's about going through the experience and just demonstrating what it's like when you're at certain stages, whether you want to do that publicly, privately, whatever, but it's up to you. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to have to, it takes time. It takes time. So you can't rush it.
Wise words. and wisdom comes from experience, right?
Exactly.
What advice would you give a young, so we just talked about you as a businessman.
Yep.
Now we're talking about
Don't even know if I'm close enough to this, but yeah.
Are we close enough to the mics?
Yeah, we're good. Cool.
Wicked. What advice would you give to a young person who wants to start a business today?
I would, yeah, I would say, what's your business about? Like, what are you doing it for? And everyone's going to have a different reason. Some people will be because I'm so passionate about this thing, I want to do this, or I really want to work with these type of people, or I spot this gap in them, whatever. That's cool. I'd say just understand what that is for yourself. Like that's definitely number one. And number two is try and create a team. Try and do that. Trying to do everything on your own. Like even if you're an artist and you're the only one who can paint what you're painting or produce what you're producing, it's great to have someone who looks at what you make and looks at it in a way of, okay, I know how we can put this painting in this gallery or on this wall, or this is where someone will come in, see it and value it as much as you do. Kind of like without that, it's sick still because you're a creative and you're getting to express yourself. But without that, it's not going to be a business. Like, so that's the thing. It's having, if you're not that person who can do it yourself, having people around you who are able to do that. Like, you need people that are on the boring stuff. You need people that like spreadsheets and like forms and documents and like doing that stuff, because it will help you as the ideas person get your idea out there. So yeah, those are the two things I'd say.
You know what's quite interesting? So 3 interviews so far. You said, what did you say now? Build a what?
Like a team?
You said build a team.
Yeah.
Renee said find your community.
Yeah.
And Chloe said build your tribe. Yeah. All like I didn't realize this, but this you're all saying the same things from completely different walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds, different businesses, but you're all saying the same thing.
Yeah. It's important. It's really important. It's like a fundamental.
How do I do that?
How do you do that? I think you start first. Like it comes from whatever your idea is, it starts with you.
Yeah.
From you then making that idea public in whatever format, whether it's I'm going to pitch my idea to investors, or I'm going to display my idea on social media for people to see, or I'm going to tell my cousin who might tell their friend, or like whatever it is, do the thing first, or at least like be confident enough in talking to people about the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just guarantee you will start picking up 1 or 2. It starts with 1 or 2 people. It doesn't start with like a whole community of like the size of Haggerston or whatever. It's just 1 or 2 people first. Who's on it?
Yeah.
Because it's not just, do you like the idea? It's, do you fuck with it so, sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but okay, cool. Do you fuck with this so much that you are also going to put in the hours and effort as well to like make this happen?
The above and beyond.
That's it. But you got to talk to people, and people will, once you put stuff out, come and find you as well. That's what I found. Like people find me now where I'm like, oh, that's dope. You want to do management, or oh, that's dope. You want to collab, or you want me to write this for this thing? Like, cool. Yeah. But it's because I put stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you put stuff out, people have something to talk about.
Yeah,
if you don't put it out, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's just the idea. Yeah. It's just a dream sometimes.
It's like your beats on your hard drive.
Yeah. It's like, it's great. They sound amazing, but you're the only person that knows.
Yeah. And that, again, is overcoming fear.
Yeah.
Like I've, in my previous time as a music producer, it's quite like... if they don't like it, then he's like, oh, they don't like me.
No, 100%.
You know, you take it 100%. Personal, and you have to learn not to take it personal.
You know what's crazy? I'm literally overcoming that right now. Like I've got some final mixes and masters from songs that are coming out soon, or meant to be coming out soon, and I'm scared to listen to them. Yeah, I've listened to it once, but I'm like, no, I'm not in the right headspace. Like, you know, you have to almost force yourself to be like, look, you've done everything to this point, and it is that final hurdle of holding it all for yourself, and then just letting the gates open and being like, all right, cool, this is for you lot now. Whatever you lot think, it's for you lot, kind of thing.
Now
and
you get to judge it.
Exactly.
You get to have an opinion.
You get to have the opinion now.
It's the same thing of talking about your idea to other people.
Yeah.
No, it is scary. Don't get me wrong.
It's scary.
It's scary, but
it is. But you have to do it.
You know?
You have to. Otherwise, it just stays with you.
Exactly. It's like the gold bar under your mattress is not worth anything.
Facts. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it's mad. your inspiration, dead or alive, and why?
Okay, so my dad is definitely one of them, because he is and has been just so integral to my life. Like, he's the first male figure that I've had in my life that's been there consistently, that's demonstrated so many things, introduced me to sports, take me to school, teach me loads of different ideas, doing maths times tables in the back of the car in primary school. Like, so my dad, number one, absolutely. And my mum, of course. But yeah, just when I think business specifically, definitely my dad, because that's his role and that's what he did. Malcolm X is just a huge inspiration to me as a human being. More because the story of his life is so impactful.
Yeah.
Like, before we even came on here, you said that my response was quite spiritual.
Yeah.
And I feel that, like, the people who I resonate with, even if they're not a certain religion or a certain spiritual denomination or whatever, what they demonstrate is that in their life is their capacity for something beyond who they are.
Yeah.
And that's why Malcolm X to me is like, you showed that more than probably anyone in the last 100 years or whatever, for me personally. And Tupac as well, like, both of those characters, in fact, all three of them, including my dad, they're all flawed, innit? Like, they've all got things against them where it's like, if you hold this thing up in terms of their image, it's like, oh, they're bad people kind of thing. Like, been to prison, da-da-da-da-da. But there's so much beauty in the fact that they're raw human beings. Like, raw. Tupac was very raw. That's what I took from him, where it's like, good, bad, ugly, you're going to get it. You're going to see exactly what it is. And I appreciate that, especially as someone who does music, because I appreciate he didn't look for perfection in his lyrics. He didn't look for perfection in his recordings. There's a lot of songs where if you go back, like, I can hear where he's punched in for certain stuff. Like, it's like, let's go get, like, I can hear that. But it's just the fact that he did it. You know what I mean? It's just doing it, which is really important. So yeah, those are like the top three if you want, innit?
Yeah, crazy. Because even when they're gone, they live forever.
That's it. They left a legacy.
That's mad, bro. If you can achieve that, that's legacy.
It's a mad legacy,
is
innit?
mad. One book that every aspiring business owner should read.
I don't know if I have an answer for this one, because I don't know if I've read a particular book that's made me be like, okay, this is how I need to start applying stuff in a business mindset, which some people watch this and be like, you're crazy. But yeah, I don't think I have a particular book for that, if I'm honest. I mean, there's one book, but it's music specific. I think it's by a guy called Passman, and it's basically like the Bible of the music industry. It's not called that. I can't remember what it is called. Some yellow book. If you see it, it's like a yellow cover. Passman. That's one thing. But I'll be so real. Like, I really struggle to do cover to cover with those kind of books, where it's pure information. It's like, I would rather study it. I'd rather someone teaching me, or we're like doing it so I can experience what you're talking about, than me sit down and try and read and learn this thing. Like, if it's a story, as I said, I can do that all day long. But yeah, I haven't got the book. I know some people might say Rich Dad Poor Dad and this book and that book. What I would say, not 48 Laws of Power. Please do not read that book and think that you know what's going on in this world. Please, 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 please. Because I was like, this is just the book of being a snake. Like,
For me, it was evil.
That's
it's
like,
you need to be really,
it's like, how do you manipulate people to get what you want? That's essentially what it came down to when I was like, nah, this ain't it.
And you know what, like, sorry to interrupt you.
That's cool.
Like, I'm one of my heroes is 50 Cent. You know, I'm an 80s baby. And if a guy like him talks about 48 powers of law, and okay, that makes sense. You're in this crazy, dark, cold, violent world. For me, bro, what am I trying to do? You know, like, nah, it's not for me. But then it's like, it has such a like societal stamp. Like, if you're real gangster, you need to read this book. You know, and it's like, nah.
It does. You know why? Because some people win off of that mentality, and like, I just know for me personally, that's not how I can operate, because it's just like, nah, it doesn't resonate. Do you ever watch the show Succession?
No.
Okay, if you haven't read a business book, watch that that TV show, because that will teach you about dynamics between people within business, especially if it's like family. But the main guy is a guy called Logan, and he kind of demonstrates those ways of dealing with things, where it's like, okay, I'm going to keep this to myself. I want to let you know, okay, this is going to be hyper aggressive. It's just that way of dealing with it. And anyone who's watched that show, you'll know that some people are Logan, some people are not. And I'm not.
Okay, interesting. I mean, with the book that you did choose, it's about learning the game.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Which you need to do. Whether you read it or watch it or hear from someone, live it.
Yeah.
You have to, like, it's always going to be learning. Like, even if you read that one book, there's another one. There's probably a new revised version that's coming out soon. So, it's constant learning, man.
How do you personally define business success? Money, freedom, influence, creative expression for you, especially innovation, something else. But what is your definition of success?
I feel like in a business sense, because I have a general viewpoint on success as well, but in a business sense, it's very much like, do I feel validated in what this thing is meant to be doing? I.e., has it serviced people in a way where it's like, oh, rah, you lot really got what I was trying to get here. Like, you lot got what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest form of success for me.
Yeah.
Monetary is dope.
Yeah.
Like, it's dope
Super
to know
dope.
that you can get paid for writing words on a page or saying words out loud and stuff. Like, that's really, really good because it is a form of incentive. But like, it's not the biggest thing for me, if I'm honest. Like, I think creative liberty and people really appreciating that is just the biggest thing for me, because I be in loads of rooms. I might be in a tech room, or I might be in a startup room, or I might be in a community room, and in all of these rooms, I'm not thinking or talking about how much money I might earn or whatever. I'm more thinking about, do you mess with the stuff that I'm trying to make?
Yeah.
Like, do you like the idea of a musician, a rapper, a spoken word artist being at the forefront of whatever your brand is or whatever we could do together? That's more so how I think about
Substance.
it. Yeah, exactly. Substance behind what I feel my purpose is. And then if that can be verified or validated in some way, that's where I'm like, yo, that's been a success.
Amazing.
More than anything.
Yeah, amazing. That's again on the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
It's not on company's house.
Nah, it's not, man. It's not. It's not company's house. Which I know my dad would be like, just say the money.
But yeah, it's quite interesting, and I think this will be a reoccurring pattern. That it's so much about who you are and your personality and your character and how much you can take.
Yeah.
How much can you take? How many L's can you take?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, was there a time you wanted to quit? How did you deal with the situation and overcome?
The funny thing with this question, I feel like, because I've been asked this before, and every time I get this question, it's like a few days before. It's that's literally the answer. It's like, a few days before, I was like, this is long.
Yeah.
This is long.
Yeah.
So it happens fairly frequently.
Yeah.
And that might be because for my measures of success, I'm not feeling or seeing those very often enough, or in a sustained enough period for me to feel really like, yo, I'm comfortable in the space that I'm actually in.
Yeah.
And that's just the real of it, really and truly. Did you ask me what the biggest L is, or did you just say like
just
how
the
often
time you wanted to quit?
Okay, yeah. So, that happened. Okay, so a time I wanted to quit is probably a few months ago in like the editing process of what I'd been writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd made a music project.
Yeah.
It'll be coming out 2023, God willing. I sent it to a bunch of people for different opinions, more because I just wanted to like test the waters of see what general reaction might be in it. And overall, it's good. Like, people are like, yo, this is dope. Like, this is a proper body of work, boom, boom, boom. But there's stuff to fix and tidy and go over. In the fixing and tidying and adapting process, that's where I had a few times where it was just like, I don't even care right now. Like, I want to go home. I don't want to be in a studio right now. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. I need to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. And maybe because I don't care right now, that means, shit, I need to let go of this thing. It's beyond me now. Like, I'm not invested in it enough. When the reality is, no, you just need a bit of time. You just need a bit of time not doing it.
Yeah.
Come back to it with refreshed ears, refreshed mindset, and go at it again. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Or that's what it is for me a lot of the time. I'm so in it that it starts overwhelming me if I keep staying within it. It's like I can't see beyond what's happening right there and then, which a lot of people say make sure you're present in everything,
Yeah.
and it's really true. Like, make sure you can be as present as possible so you're focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
But if you allow that present moment to start completely overwhelming you and you don't know how to take yourself out of what's currently happening, just for your own safety sometimes, that's another thing that you need to learn at some point. Like, how do you make sure that this present moment isn't so overwhelming that it starts deterring you from the thing that you feel that you really, really want?
Yeah.
Like,
Deep. Super deep. Yeah, I mean, that was the last question.
Okay.
It's what the overarching thing that you're saying is like, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough, and it's tough. But you chose to go there.
That's very important. Like, the choice factor. Like, I would hope if you do watch this, if you listen to this, whatever, like, you get some reality. Like, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard. But even when I just said, I don't care about this right now, that right now is very important because ultimately I care a lot.
Yeah.
I care so much. So much. That's why I'm sitting here with you right now, because I care. Like, this for me is, if someone said you've got all the money in the world, you don't need to think about it anymore, I'll still be doing the same sort of stuff. I still go to the studio. I still write music. Maybe not as frequent, but like, I would do it. Like, I would be in there and just want to express myself still. So like, I think a lot of that feeling of it's tough, it's not to say like it's tough and that's it, full stop. You're going to struggle. You're going to be at a loss or anything. It's more to say, please just know when you're approaching this sphere of things, everything's on your back. Yeah. Like, you are the leader of whatever you're trying to do. Yeah. You know, you're not the leader of all this people and this whole, but for what you're trying to accomplish, you have to take that on your back. Yeah. You're in charge. Yeah. When you wake up, it's on you. When you go to sleep, it's still on you. Yeah. And you can have great sleeps because of it, or you might have no sleep because of it, but it's on you regardless. That's more so what it is, and just try and find that balance. Yeah,
nothing cool about being a boss.
There is though. Sometimes it is like, it could be dope. Like, it can be dope,
but it's only for
challenging.
You. It's challenging. It's challenging. Like and like that Ricky Rose song is like, it's a great song, but when Ricky Rose, when he says it, it's different than when other people sing it, you know, and just understanding that, because we're going through that. The L is yours. You hold the L. The W, you give it to your team. You know, and that's leadership. And that's leadership. That's how you build a tribe, is by making sure that they're cool, which means that you're not making sure that you're cool. You understand? Like, it's giving. It's you give. You
do. However, if when you win, you don't accept and appreciate your role within the win, then you're never going to win. Like, that was also something that I had to learn, where I was like, I would always bypass some of these things that happen in my life. Like, I mentioned Chingfest 2019. Yeah. I remember at the time, I was just like, yeah, cool, we did it. Like, sick. All right, what am I doing next? Yeah. What's the point of me thinking about what's next? Like, didn't live the moment. Yeah, like, everyone else is ecstatic. Like, we pulled off a whole festival that no one wanted us to do for free in the ends. Yeah. That is incredible. Like, when I think about it now, especially, but I shouldn't have to think about that retrospectively. Yeah. I should be there when it's happening and be like, sick. I'm so happy I got to be a big part of facilitating this and a big part of this. And that goes for all the small wins. Like, you have to be able to take those. Because if you just keep giving them away to other people, like, have this win, have this one, like, when do you win? You don't. Yeah.
No time like the present.
No time like the present, man. Yeah. So if you're listening, if you're watching, go out there, do whatever you feel you want to do. Amen. Because you can. Yes. I promise you can. Yeah. Even if it's hard, it's tough, you can. And I think that's the overarching thing that I want to say. Yeah. Not just that it is tough, but despite the fact it's tough, you can do it and you will do it. Like, that's what I want to say.
Let's end with those words.
Cool.
That was a mad ending. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't get no realer than that.
Yeah, man. Big up. Man. Thank you, Sam. Hey. Love. Big up Yuri in the camera as well. Yeah, go to www.lemzi.com, subscribe, and then you can, there'll be loads of information coming out in 2023 for a bunch of different stuff.